All right, so here we are at page 4. Let's continue. We have some more percentage questions. So write the following percentage as decimals. Well, when we need to do this, we just take our percentage and we divide by 100. That's very easy to do. So if you go 99% divided by 100, you get 0.99. If you take 42%, oh wait, let's read the instructions here. Write the following percentages as fractions. So in this case, we need to write 42% as a fraction. So if we have a percentage, this is quite simple too. We write 42 over 100. So whenever you want to write a percentage as a fraction, you just divide it by 100. And now I would like you to simplify this, meaning reduce. So if I divide the top by 2 and I divide the bottom by 2, all right, I get 42 divided by 2 is 21, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. And here we go. That is our final answer. You can no longer reduce this. There's no other numbers that you can divide 21 and 51 and 21 and 50. So here we go. That's our answer. Okay. Next question. Write the following percentages as decimals. Okay. So the instructions here are as different. What we need to do here is, so if you see this on here, this doesn't make sense. This should say, find the percentage value of the number indicated. So that's what should be the instructions here. So if you got the wrong one, here, let me cross this out so that it's not, I didn't see I made this mistake. Let's see. I'm going to cross out these instructions. So we need to find 14% of 30. So the first thing we should do is change 14% to a decimal. So if you divide 14% divided by 100, that gives you 0.14. And the second step we're going to do is multiply that against 30, and that's how we find 14% of 30. So if I do that with a calculator, 0.14 times 30, I get 4.2. In this example, my answer is 4.2. Okay. So I'm just going to like that. There we go. So 14% of 30 is 4.2. So to find a percentage of a number, once again, take the percentage, divide by 100 to get 0.14 and multiply it against 30. Okay. So that's it for our percentage questions. Let's take a look at the other questions we have here. Write the following as algebraic expressions. So we need to change this into algebra. So you have to know what the sum means. Sum means adding. So the sum of A and C, well, that means A plus C. That's what that means there. All right. So you have to know this word sum. The second one is product, and this means multiplication. So the product of X and Y, well, that means them multiplying against each other. And you can just write them like so, X times Y. And that's it for that question. All you need to do is know the English words for product and sum. That's part of this question here, okay? So now we get into some indice laws, all right? So it says simplify fully. You have to know your indice laws. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a little hidden 1 on this A, so I know that there's a power on the A. I'm going to go 3 times 2 is 6. And I'm going to have A squared times A to the power of 1. Well, that's going to be A, and we're going to add 2 plus 1, which is 3. So you have to have your indices, okay? In the second example, what we're going to do is going to have 3 times this 2 in here. So 3 times 2, and we're going to have B to the power of 6. So I time these two here, I times this time. And now this one is a bit of a tricky one. I tried to make it more difficult, but if you know anything to the power of 0, we know that's going to be 1. So that's like saying x to the power of 7 divided by 1, which is, well, x to the power of 7. So it's not so tricky at all. So we have this answer, and this answer. So there's some indice practices for you. So evaluate. Make sure you guys know what this means. Evaluate. So this is filling in values for x and y. So if I have x is equal to -1 and y is equal to -5, what I'm going to do is everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put -1. All right. So here, I'm going to put -1. And I'm going to have plus 2 times y, but instead of y, I'm going to put -5. And remember, it's multiplication, so make sure you multiply. And if you do that, you have 2 times -1, which is -2. 2 times -5, which is -10. And now use your calculator. -2 subtract 10, well, you're going to be getting -12. And that is our final answer there. Okay. Section B was a little bit more tricky and advanced, but you're going to do the same thing. So what I'm going to do is where I see an x, I'm going to replace the x with, once again, -1. Okay, x is -1, so I put -1 here. And then now you get a square root. I'm going to replace x with -1 again. So I'm going to put -1. I'll put it in brackets so I don't make a mistake. And I'm going to subtract y. Well, what's our value for y? Well, it's -5. So subtract -5. Okay. So let's take a look at it. What's 4 times -1? Well, that's -4. And on the bottom, I have the square root of, well, what's minus, here, let's change this color. What's minus -5? Well, that's going to be +5, right? So you have to evaluate -5. So I'm going to have a -1 from him plus 5, which gives me -4 divided by, well, -1 plus 5 is 4. So I have square root of 4. What's the square root of 4? Well, that's 2. -4 divided by square root of 4, which is 2. I'm running out a bit of room, but eventually from this value here, -4 divided by 2, well, if you go -4 divided by 2, I'm going to write my final answer up here. Sorry about this. So we have -4 divided by 2, which is -2. So for my final answer for that one, if you worked on it, you should get an answer of -2. So there we are. That is my page 4 in this case. Okay, so there's our page 4. So different things. We have percentages. We have some algebra expressions, and you have to have some of the rules for algebra as well.